All right, guys, welcome back. I'm going to do an end of the market wrap. There's not a whole lot going on in the indices. We're getting chopped to pieces. It's just back and forth. But some of those individual stock ideas that I pointed out, there's some really interesting things that happened today. So I'm going to pull those up. I'm going to focus mostly on those in this video. Give me a thumbs up. Leave me a comment to let me know if you guys took these trades or any of these trades, which trades you took on these stocks. All right, here we go. We'll start out with the triple Qs. You can see here the last, really we've just chopped around the last few days. Just today I was watching it. It was all over the place. It was up, it was down, it was pretty choppy. So that's continuing. There's just kind of chopping around. SPY, same thing. Just kind of chopping around, closing, what looks like right on support, but again, it's very choppy. So I'm noticing it's chopping right through the trend line chopping through support lines and chopping back through, and it's just chopping around the trend line. So it's not very conducive to actually trading. And so when I see price action like this, I kind of take a step back from the indices and just let the chop happen until it kind of resolves itself, and you'll see resolutions eventually, but for right now it's just choppy. So what I did is I lightened up a little bit on my triple Q short, took about half off. I still have some, but I took a little bit off, and if the resolution breaks to the downside, I'll still have some skin in the game, but again, it's really choppy right now. Looking at these trade ideas. All right, we'll just start from the bottom of my list. Peloton. All right, so we called this one out, and you can see, go back and watch my last couple videos. Go out, 3, 4, 5 videos back, and I've been talking about Peloton for a while, kind of queuing it up, and that's how I trade. So when I start talking about a trade in a video and I start pointing it out repeatedly, usually that's before the price action has taken place, before the crowd realizes that there's a trade there. I'm talking about it because I use forward-looking indicators to try to find these trades. And now we're seeing the crowd realize the momentum is starting to shift to the downside in PTon, and you can see today we pretty much closed below. I had a little bit of a support level here at 126.67. We closed below that. We've now entered this, pretty thin zone, what I can see. If you look here on the daily, we're now in this area where basically I think we're just going to head straight down to this bigger trend line right down here. So this is coming off the March lows, and we've just been walking up these. And the point is that now we've just entered into an area where there's no, this was just a straight shot up, and usually, so that's a thin zone. There's not a lot of trading. It just went right through this area. Now I think we come back down. So, I really do think we're heading right down to this support line. That's the trade that is already starting to play out. The best position, the best area for taking a short trade is gone at this point. So now if you're going to take it, you obviously have a higher risk that you get, a whipsaw or a kickback rally or something that goes against you. But looks like the momentum is headed to the downside. Pretty weak close right here. And so obviously I've been short this for a little while, probably 5 days or so. I don't remember exactly when I entered it, but and it's now continuing to work in my favor. So that's that one. Everything looks good. I don't see any, I just see downward momentum. Sorry about that. Had a call. Next is SQ. Again, same deal. Downward momentum breaking. See the daily close. We broke below what I had as near-term support. So if I go to the hourly here, this is really the closest I could find, which was this little gap of support. We broke below it. So I think we're heading down. Next level that I've got is 170.50. And then there was a reaction high right back here. And then we had a gap up right there. So that's the next level of support that I can see. we'll most likely get there tomorrow, I would think. But if not, maybe we'll get there in the next couple days. I still think we're heading down there. Things look good. The stock was down 4% today, and everything looks good. This one I didn't short. I had a lot of other shorts. I liked it, and I was talking about it, and I kept showing that it looked really good. I just didn't short it because I didn't catch on to the trade. I didn't like the entry wasn't as where I wanted to enter basically. But you had several opportunities when this broke down. This broke trend back here on September 3rd, and you had a kickback rally here, and then another kickback rally there, and then almost another one right there. All three of those were good points to basically add to a short position or enter. And now it's starting to resolve to the downside. So that looks good for continued move heading down. Yeah, and I think next stop, we'll probably get a slight reaction right here, right around this, 235 level. But I think that reaction will be short-lived, and it will eventually break down below that. And really, I think we're heading down to fill this gap, which is going to be around 135. That's the longer-term price target I would have on that one. Etsy, this one had a really nice day to the downside. Obviously not good if you're long, but if you're short, like I was, it was very good. And I had a decent sized position on this one. I really liked the chart, so I took a little bit larger position. And so now here's what I see on this one. I think we're close to finding some level of support. I think we're going to get some kind of reaction. It was a really weak close. It just drifted lower and then closed down. But I've got this secondary trend line I was able to make really coming from the March lows of 2020. And you can see we've got a reaction off the lows here, another reaction here. And then as you come in, you've got a reaction there and another one right there. And we close the day right there at it. So I'm going to treat that as near-term support. We're going to see how that reacts. What I'm expecting in this, I do think we're heading lower, but what I think is maybe we get a little bounce. We kick all the way back up to this 139.20 area, and then we start the next leg down. Again, you don't expect these things to just collapse straight down. Usually you're going to have, swift moves down, little kickback rallies, and then start the next leg. So that's what I think is going to happen. I'll probably, what I did is I actually covered my short on this down at the close, basically. Nice profit. Again, I entered this position way back here up at 140, about 150. So that was from where I entered, that was about 11% gain. So now I'm looking to maybe re-enter back at this 138 or 139 area. But we'll look at that. Carvana. This one just drifted throughout the day. We got a little bit of a reaction. You can see, so here's your gap entry, and we just drifted sideways. Once it fell right to this gap, and we drifted sideways for a few hours, and then it just kind of sold off. So I think that we are... Excuse me, I got to check this real quick. I might be wrong. You can see it just came right down there, drifted sideways, and then sold off towards the end of the day at that gap entry. We've now cleanly entered the gap, so we should fill the gap down here. I don't think it's going to do it all at once. What they like to do a lot of the times, rather than just roll it straight down to fill the gap, what they like to do is they'll probably bounce it back up to the top of the gap. It'll get rejected up there, and then we'll roll down and fill the gap. Or we could bounce up, hit the gap, get rejected, roll down, maybe close the day somewhere down around here, and then gap down to fill the gap. I still think very high probability at this point we fill the gap, whether we go up a little bit and then down or just down. I think we're filling this gap. This one was clearly priced into the chart. This was one of the better divergences. It was just so clear and obvious. You could see this divergence that it just made a ton of sense that this was going to break down and fill that. And it had this nice clean gap as well. So just a very easy chart to trade. Sometimes they're easy. Moving on, PHM looks good. Nice bearish close. Down 3 7/10% today. Closing, what I can see, if we look here on the hourly, yeah, I marked this line out. It's not my favorite, but it looks like we did get right around there, but 44.60, maybe 45, somewhere right in there. Could be just a slight level of support, because this was a pretty big sideways trading range, and we did have, you can see we ran up, tagged it, held it as resistance for a little while. Then we broke above, held it as support for a little while, broke down. It chopped through a bunch, so I don't think it's a extremely valid trend line. I think that we just are going to get a small reaction, and we did get that reaction right here. So now I think we head down. If price is back down in this area, we'll probably break down and continue lower and heading down to fill this gap. Nice obvious gap right here at 39.58. Obviously stepping a little bit early, but yeah, 39.58. So that is a very obvious trade to me. I think that looks very good. Zoom just selling pretty much ever since we broke this trend line up here. It's just been selling ever since. So this one, is down 10% from the high. However, keep in mind, this thing is up huge this year. So 10% is nothing. This could easily fall 30, 40, 50%. I think eventually it's going to come fill this gap at 326, which I believe, from the high, that would be a drop of, 44%. So I think that's where this is ultimately going to head when it breaks. However, Zoom, and you did have, look, you've got negative divergence right here in Zoom while price was moving higher. So it's all set up to break down and go lower. And so, I think we're going to run down and fill this gap, drop 40, 50%, and we'll continue to watch. It could even go lower than that. We don't know, but I think it's high probability that we hit this at least, and lower, I'm not exactly sure. Oh, and a couple more, Redfin and DraftKings. So Redfin actually broke its support. It's really weak right now, and you can see here on the daily chart, this was your support line. Let me get rid of these right here. We don't need these, but this was the support line on this daily, kind of this near-term support. We've just been walking up this on the daily. Today we had a pretty solid impulsive breakdown of that support. So daily support's gone on this thing, which means that opens the door for a much larger move to the downside. So what areas do I have for this? Well, if we go to let me go to the hourly just to tighten it up, make sure, because so down here, 35.31, I think, is in the cards next. Obviously, we'll have little kickback rallies along the way. I would expect probably what will happen is we'll just chop around and hit this trend line keep getting rejected as resistance, and then we'll make our way down. But 35.24 would be the next level, and if we break that, then we've got this 31.40 level. So those are some targets to kind of keep an eye out for. If you look here on the hourly, if we start to turn up right now, we'd have to turn up really, first thing tomorrow we'd need to turn up. Then potentially we have positive divergence on the hourly, which, for an hourly chart, that could just mean we just chop around, like I was saying. On the daily, it's still negative divergence on the daily. So momentum is still to the downside. We just broke major price support. This thing's going lower most likely, in my opinion. DraftKings. So I'm done with this one. I caught, this entire move down for the most part. And it's really, I think we're at or near support. Here's the trend line at 43. It's about $44. Closed obviously down there, below it today. If you look at the hourly here, though, we're starting to get bullish divergence here on DraftKings. So you can see price continues to make lower lows while the momentum is starting to build higher. And we've got that on the PPO as well. So we've got bullish divergence on DraftKings now. We've got on the hourly chart, on the daily. Yeah, not there on the daily as of yet. So it is on the hourly, which, you know, tells me that DraftKings in the medium term, longer term is going lower. Well, I guess medium term is going lower, but in the short term, we might have, you know, kind of a kickback rally, or, you know, a bear market rally, essentially. DraftKings is in a bear market from the high to the low, down 35%. So this stock is in a bear market, but you have bear market rallies in stocks, you know, and so this is, you know, looks like it's priming for a rally, a bear market rally. Where's the bear market rally go? Well, you know, it's the same levels that I had before. We just look at where we got these reactions. We got a reaction, you know, kind of a zone right up here around 49, 43. We've got a gap right up here, up at 55, right in those areas. So somewhere in there is most likely where it goes. We'll wrap up with the granddaddy of crazy momentum stocks, Tesla. And so this one, what do we got? Well, Tesla's still hanging in there. You know, a lot of these momentum stocks started to break down today. Tesla's still hanging in there. You still got the true believers. I think Tesla's next. It's going down, I believe. Why do I think that? Well, you've got negative divergence, big negative divergence on the daily chart. It's probably on the weekly as well. Big negative divergence on the weekly, and it's on the daily. We've broken price support, this uptrend line right here, this diagonal uptrend line, that's been broken. And we are just doing the sideways drift, kind of the non-believer drift is what I like to call it, when all the momentum is starting to shift and price support's starting to shift, but you still have people that don't realize it, and they're still in there buying and things like that. This one, I think, is going to come in the form of a gap down. It really is set up for that. Now that we've had some of these other momentum stocks starting to break, this one's probably going to break with earnings, and I believe earnings are out today. I could be wrong. Yeah, actually, it looks like the earnings are actually out. It's up 2% so far, so we'll see. We'll see if that holds or how that actually, you know, this is going to move around a little bit. So, but I think, to me, it looks like they're going to sell into their earnings, or they're going to sell this earnings report. Could be wrong, of course, and if I'm wrong, we'll see some sort of kickback rally or gap up. So, again, that's what I see. And that makes sense. They didn't sell this one today. Everyone wants to see what these earnings come out and say. Okay, I'm going to wrap up here. Again, you can always leave your stocks you want me to look at. I do, you know, when I'm ready, you know, once a week or so, I'm going to try to put out one of these subscriber stock pick videos, and I scroll through the comments and look to try to find stocks that line up, looking, you know, see if there's more people that want to see a certain stock, and I'll just cover the ones that look interesting, and if there's trade setups in those, I'll cover those. Otherwise, you know, if there's nothing there, I just don't cover it typically because I just don't see anything there. So go ahead and leave a comment, leave a thumbs up, and I will catch you guys on the next video.